So, how much money can you make trading Forex? That's the question that everyone wants to know when starting out. And to be fair, it's a great and perfectly valid question. Why wouldn't you want to know that? At the end of the day, no matter what anyone says, the ultimate reason we trade is to make money. So, quite simply, the potential returns from Forex trading are a factor of just two things, both your individual skill set and the size of your trading account balance. Now, your job is to put all of your focus, and I mean 100% of your focus first, on improving your skill set. Once you have built that skill set, to a certain level, you will then be ready to handle much larger capital. Maybe if you don't currently have access to a lot of capital to trade, and your account balance is maybe what you consider to be, relatively small, then there is no need to be concerned about that whatsoever. Because in today's modern age, where we have seen these reasonably recent emergence of online prop firms, proprietary firms, they're literally popping up everywhere at the moment. There is literally an abundance of trading and capital available to you right at your fingertips. But first, before that, you have to prove that you are worthy to be able to handle that capital. So once you have built the skill set and you are consistent, no one can take that skill away from you, and the capital will then find you. I promise you that. There are literally infinite flows of capital in this world that are just looking to be parked somewhere where they can get a return. Your skill set is in extremely high demand, and you will be financially rewarded extremely well, but only if you have spent the time and the hard work that it takes to build that skill set first. Now, the output of that equation for potential trading returns, is practically unlimited. Let me explain. So one main way to measure your trading returns is as a percentage of your trading account size. So the way that you do this is you take the total amount of monetary profit that you made, and then you divide this figure by the size of your trading account. And then you multiply that by 100 to turn it into a percentage. So for instance, if you had a $10,000 account and you made a $1,000 profit, then you would divide that $1,000 profit by your $10,000 account size, which gives you 0.1. And then you multiply this by 100 to give you 10%. So $1,000 profit on a $10,000 account is obviously a 10% net return, right? So as you can see in this table, what returns of 5%, 10% and 20% per month translate into actual money based on different account sizes. So that 10% return on a 10 grand account obviously equates to $1,000 profit, and that same 10% return, but now on a $100,000 account, now equates to a $10,000 profit. And then of course, again, that same 10% return, that exact same performance and skill, but just on a larger $1 million account, that now equates to $100,000 profit per month. So the exact same skill set, but just on a larger account, produces larger profits. This is why you will pretty much constantly hear me ranting so much about just putting all of your focus on building the skill set and forgetting about the monetary rewards for now. Focusing only on the money is probably only going to slow your progression down. So build the skill set, because no one can take that away from you, and then the world is literally your oyster. You can be set for life. Now, trading is probably the most scalable business model on earth. If you return the same percentage every month, so you literally have a fixed performance, right, where you never return a higher percentage. So let's say, it's always capped at 10% for some reason, you actually end up making more money every month anyway. And that is due to the wonderful power of compounding. So as you can see here in this table, right, in month one, that 10% return equates to $1,000 profit. But then all the way down at the bottom, by the end of the year, if you compound your account balance, right, and you're not withdrawing, then that same 10% return now gives you almost triple the amount of profit, right, with nearly $3,000 there. So now at the end of the year, if you return 10% every month, that's not actually a 120% return on your account balance, right? You don't just do 12 times 10, because that 10% per month, when you compound it over a year, that actually equates to a 214% return. Compounding is what makes trading such an incredible skill set to have. So let's take a quick look at a compound interest calculator. So let's take a look for a compound interest calculator and see if we can have a play around. Let's just click on the first one. Let's see what this one's like. Okay, so get rid of this cookie crap. So let's just say, I don't know, you have a starting balance, right, of 10,000, and you have an interest rate, right? We want to do this by monthly. So let's just say you make that 10% return, and then you want to see where that gets you, in 2 years time, right? And then without any deposits or withdrawals. So this is really useful, right? If you want to be a bit more realistic, and you can put in your withdrawals of, what profits you will need to withdraw each month for, whether you want to live off that or whatever. And then we can chuck this here. Get rid of that comma, I believe. Let's see, calculate, boom, there we go. So here you can see that monthly breakdown, right? It just does a nice little table for you. So essentially the interest would be your monthly profit, and obviously that would be your total profit, your total P&L. And then that would be your account balance trading, right? So you can see in 2 years time, with 10% a month, you can pretty much get that to nearly 100 grand. But of course, use these compound interest calculators, right, as motivation, right? Because honestly, the power is there, right? The maths doesn't lie. It's there, right? The opportunity is there. No one can deny that. Where you kind of need to just be a little bit more realistic is how this will work in real life is you're going to have withdrawals, you're going to have taxes, right? All of these things that are going to happen. So don't just suddenly think, okay, well, in 10 years time, I'm going to be tens and tens of millions, because you also have to deal with trading larger amounts of capital, right? That brings its own issues and problems. Psychology, it can be harder and harder to deal with that as sizes get bigger. So it's not always just going to be a super smooth process, right? But have a play around with this. What I would recommend definitely is, like I said before, is go up here, put in, with your withdrawals, but also you can put deposits. Maybe you have a lot of capital at hand. Maybe you're still going to work a job, and maybe you're going to be slowly adding more and more money to your account each month, and you can see what effect that happens, right? So playing around with it, really, really useful tool. I'll put a link to it down below in the video notes. So if you somehow were not already aware of compound interest before this video, then you will now understand why Albert Einstein was apparently quoted as saying that the most powerful force in the universe is actually compound interest. So in this course, you are going to learn a skill set that if you can master, you will have the possibility to make extremely high returns in the market. This isn't just hyperbole. I'm not trying to hype you up. You don't have to take my word for it, because I will show you and prove it to you throughout the program as we go along. But what I want you to realize is that you don't even need to make really high returns each month in order to actually make an incredibly lucrative income. Because 6% per month, that really is a magic number. 6 times 12, that might only be 72%, but 6% compounded monthly for a year equates to a 100% return. Imagine for a second an investment where you literally double your money every single year. That is what the power of a small monthly return that is very achievable for you to consistently make can do for you, if you just zoom out a little bit and you focus on the larger and the longer term picture. Now, a proprietary firm, that is commonly referred to as prop firms, right? It's just an institution that essentially uses its own capital to trade with for the sole purpose of making a profit from speculative trading strategies. So this is in comparison to, say, a dealing desk at a bank, where they are looking to make a profit on thin margin commissions that they obtain through client trading activity. So essentially just clients who, for commercial volume or whatever, right, big construction firms that need money to purchase, say, timber in another country, they will put their orders through that bank to be executed via the bank, and then the bank takes a small commission on that order. But if you compare it to prop firms, these firms trade their own capital purely to make a profit with speculation in the market, right? Now, just in the last few years alone, there has literally been an explosion of online prop firms who offer the opportunity for you to become one of their traders. So you can trade a portion of their firm's capital on their behalf, but of course you then just share a split of any profits that you make with them, because they are, obviously providing you access to a lot of capital that you may otherwise not have had access to yourself when you are first starting out. Now, there are many prop firms out there, and a discussion on this goes beyond the scope of this specific lesson. But for now, I just want you to think about the potential that arises from being funded from just one prop firm alone. So one of the most popular firms, FTMO, they offer you the opportunity to initially trade up to $400,000 if you pass their trading test to prove your skill set first. So with a $400,000 account, 10% per month equates to a $40,000 gross return. But then after the 70-30 profit split, so you pay them 30% of your profits and you keep the remaining 70%. So that leads to a $28,000 net profit for you to take home each month. Now, if you think about that for a minute, The average UK salary is around £30,000, and that's before tax. So after your profit split with the government, it's around £24,000 roughly, which is about 28,000 euros or about $33,000 at the time of this recording. So you can make, right, the average annual salary in a developed Western economy in just 1 month. And that's without, the 50 or 60 hour work week in a job that you probably don't love, wasting valuable time that you'll never be able to get back just on commuting back and forth to your workplace, as well as dealing with bosses, and all that corporate bullshit, right? Compared to potentially a few extremely focused hours each day on the London session from the comfort of your own home office. Now, this isn't supposed to be some kind of, FX sales pitch. I'm definitely not saying that you can just turn on your computer for a couple of hours a day and make a load of money. Of course not. It's going to take years of consistent dedication to get to that level where you can potentially do that. And even then, you will still need to constantly be reviewing your processes, journaling and studying all of your trades, testing and tweaking your strategy, right, to keep looking for improvements, staying on top of your routines, keeping on top of your physical and mental health so that you can maintain your peak performance. Oh, and by the way, you're not limited to making 10% per month, of course. There are members in this community who have regularly made much more than that. So, if you want to make 6 figures a year, we've got you, but it just takes time and a shit ton of hard work and focused dedication to your craft. But the financial reward is there if you want to take it. Because all of that is even without the scaling plans. So at the time of this recording, with FTMO, every 4 months, if you average at least just a 2.5% return during each of those 4 months, then they will increase your account size by 25%, and that will look something like this. So another 2 years, you have the opportunity to be trading 7-figure investor capital. Now I'll let you do the math on the potential that opportunity can be, providing you, and that's without even considering adding other prop firms' capital, as you can link up multiple accounts in some cases. So this is why I said at the start of this video that there is truly an abundance of capital out there, literally waiting for you, but you must build the skill set first and prove that you are worthy to handle larger amounts of capital.